Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I want to talk about something called opportunity cost. I recorded a whole episode the other day at the airport and I uploaded it to my podcast, but I was like, I need to bring this conversation to YouTube. And so I wanted to talk about this term called opportunity cost and how not weighing all of your hidden opportunity costs, specifically when you are stuck in survival mode, can be detrimental to your future growth, your future development. And I really wanted to talk about it from this standpoint of when I learned about the term and when I started adapting it into my way of living and my approach, and it helped me tremendously shift from just trying to survive the day to really doing a lot of forward planning, right? And so I'm gonna give you a little story because I like to give context to the conversation so you understand where it comes from, all of the things. Because the things that I talk about, I did not read it in a book. I did not hear it from someone else. This is my real life. And so when I think of the thing or when I am led to talk about the thing, I feel that I have to bring it forth to you all. And so I was supposed to record this last week, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I ended up meeting a social worker who was experiencing the same thing. And so after I talked to them about it, to help them see a specific situation they were going through a little differently, I'm going to talk about it in just a moment. I was like, Marthea, do what you're supposed to do and bring it to the people on the platform, right? So, real quick, a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's degree in business, right? So, I was really intrigued with being in business, working in corporate settings. Ironically enough, I use what I've learned in my degree program in my current business, a lot of it, because I was super, super fascinated with marketing. But in that degree program, and I've talked about it before on my podcast. Like it was a uh, two tracks of the program. It was accounting and then it was business administration. So my track was business administration. However, I was required to take tons and tons and tons of accounting classes. I was in classes with the accounting majors and all of the things. There was a term that I learned about in one of those classes, which is called opportunity cost. And look, I'm just jumping on here because I just finished meeting with one of my coaching clients, and I'm like, record now, Marthea. So I did not pull up my definition because you all know I love a good definition. I have been in rooms with key leaders who pretend like they know what a word means. That will never be me. I have no problem with looking up the definition of the word, right? And so when people sit and pretend like they know what they're talking about or understand the frame of reference that the conversation is being pulled from, it really nulls and voids the whole conversation. So I model that behavior for you all because I know that I specifically am talking and the people who follow my work, the people that I work with who are my coaching clients, and even if you just listen to my podcast or read my posts, you all are the next generation of leaders, right? So I share that strategy with you because if you hear me say it enough, you're going to get comfortable with looking up a definition, asking a question for clarification when you don't understand. We don't want to be the next generation of leaders that lead the people off the cliff because you were unwilling to show that you were a human, right? And that you don't know everything. Right. And actually, people respect you more when you admit what you don't know and you seek guidance on the thing. Okay. So that was just a professional development moment for you all. So, opportunity costs. And I pulled up, I didn't finish typing. So, opportunity costs, I found the actual definition that I really enjoyed the other day when I recorded on my podcast. I may not find it again, but this definition here is by NetSuite. Where's the definition? Um, Hold on a second. I saw it from the Google. Give me a second. I'm just going to read it from the Google preview and then I'm going to voice it over for you. Okay. So, what is opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is the value the company foregoes when choosing one option over another, whether the loss is monetary or use of time. Um, I'm looking for, see if I can find a definition. So the definition that I really enjoyed the other day when I was recording in the podcast was in regards to a farmer, and it was saying that, oh, here's one that you all could really relate to. Let's read it together. So an example of an opportunity cost is a student spends 3 hours and $20 at the movies the night before an exam. The opportunity cost is time spent studying and that money to spend on something else. A farmer chooses to plant, oh, this is the definition. I didn't read the part about the student the other day. That really didn't make sense, but this is the definition. So a farmer chooses to plant wheat, right? The opportunity cost is planting a different, oh, this is a different one. But it was about a farmer. So a farmer chooses to plant wheat. The opportunity cost is planting a different crop or an alternative use of the resources, land, and farm equipment. I think that is the definition. So how I broke that down, right, is what opportunity cost is the cost that you would get in the future by making the decision that you are facing in that present moment. So with the example of the farmer, right? The farmer has not grown the crops yet. However, he or she is at a place where they're realizing in order to grow these crops, I need to buy 2 new tractors, right? Tractors aren't cheap. They're going to cost them a lot of money. So what they're doing is forecasting in the future by saying, instead of just using my old tractor that's about to break down, I could really double my yearly revenue if I invested in 2 new tractors, which means that they would be able to plant more crops. They would be able to harvest more crops, which at the end of all of that means that they will be bringing in triple, if not more, of the money because now they have updated, new approved equipment and they have multiple ones, right? So an example with the student one, I'm just going to come up with one off the top. If you were a student and you decided to go to the movies instead of staying at home and studying for your exam, you are losing time. Going back to that original definition, you're losing time that you can be studying to ensure that you pass the exam, right? So it opportunity cost helps you shift from instant gratification. So instant gratification in that instance would be the farmer saving money. They're not buying the crop, they're not buying the tractor, so they're saving money. They have more cash flow. Instant gratification would be for the student. I'm going to the movies. I'm watching the movie. I'm not even thinking about this exam, right? However, we know as many of us as career students, people that have multiple degrees, if you do not invest the proper time in your studying, that means that you will then get in the exam, you will fail it, right? Which, depending on your current standing in the class, it could significantly impact your GPA, which means that you would then fail the class because if it's a graduate class, you have to have a B or A. C's are not passing. So then over time, what will happen is you fail the class. So that means you have to retake the class. And retaking the class, let's come up with a scenario, is not covered by financial aid or student loans, or you don't have the monetary money out of pocket to pay for the class. And all of this is a trickle down effect or snowball effect of you choosing to go to the movies instead of for those 2 hours, instead of spending those 2 hours studying, right? So the opportunity costs are the things that will happen as a result of you making this decision right now in this point in time. And the reason I wanted to bring that definition to you all is because when I was in that program, I learned about opportunity cost, and it was a term that I started to adopt. I took it, I made it my own, and I started to apply it to my own life, right? Because I had been stuck, and still years after that, right, have been stuck in survival mode. So all of the decisions that I was making in my life at that time was around my immediate need. I did not, even though I am a futuristic person, based on personality assessment test, I could not plan for my future effectively because I was fighting against today. Right. So what that looks like, and I thought about this after I recorded the podcast episode the other day, was yes, let's say there was a time, let's say it was income tax time, right? Depending on what tax bracket you're in, how your life is set up. This is me back in the day. I wasn't paying taxes back then. Um, I would, um, I would get refunds, right? So every year I would have these grandiose plans of I'm going to take because I'm futuristic, right? This is the turmoil that I used to feel in my life because I knew the things that I should do. I just couldn't do them all of the time. And so then at a certain point, you begin to feel a little defeated. So anyway, um, I would have these plans of I'm going to get my tax return, I'm going to save it, and then I will use it for XYZ, right? Um, so I would save it. That would be the grandiose plan. I would be good at it maybe for like a week or so, but then things would pop up, right? Things always happen when you get money in your hand, just out of the blue. The car needs rotors. Ain't been riding around on bad brakes. And it's like, okay, you can't do it any longer. You need to get some rotors. I need to pay for summer camp, or I maybe need to move. And so with moving comes the whole thing of you need to put down deposits, you need to pay transfer fees for your utilities, all of the things, right? So in that instance, for me, opportunity costs would come into play where it would be like I would have to really assess if everything that I named that I needed was really a need or if it could better position me for something bigger in the future. Right. So an example just off top that I'm thinking about is like with my daughter for school or for relocating, right? There was a point in time where I made the clear decision that my baby ain't going to nobody else public school. That she went for kindergarten and first grade, and that was it, right? So it was when she went to middle school, because my daughter went to private school for the majority of elementary, all of middle school. Unfortunately, there wasn't a school that I would send my child to for high school, private school in my city, but she did go for elementary and middle. The school that she went to for the later part of elementary and all of middle school was in another county. It was like in an adjacent county. I live in a very rural town, right? And so where I lived at the time when she was going to the other private school was more in the city, more near the urban core. Um, but I was like, I want my child to go to this private school, which means I need to be on this side of town that's closer to that county. That way I could more easily get her to and from school. Unfortunately, they had a bus service, but even with the bus stop, because it was one designated bus stop, it was on that other side of town. So what that looked like for me was instead of taking all of my income tax or part of it and saving it, I was like, the opportunity cost here would be if I move from where I am now, I would be geographically in a place better positioned to ensure that my child got to the school that I wanted her to go to, and that she was able to get there every day without a problem on my part, especially with my unreliable car at the time. I could get her to and from. So the opportunity cost for me in that moment was if I take this money, invest it in moving, I can then better position and be in a place to support my child to go to the quality school that I want her to go to. Fast forward, future planning, that will then her going to this school will better support her development as a student because I already knew my child was going to college even before she was born. That was the non-negotiable. She will tell you that that was my only requirement. I don't care what you decide to do career-wise, but you're going to college, right? So this school was well known for college preparation. All of the students there go on to college and do great things in their career and all the things, right? So forward planning was, yes, that means that I maybe won't be able to splurge because you know how you get your income tax. And you have to catch up on all the stuff that you didn't do all year long because your money was funny. So that meant, okay, yeah, I may not be able to splurge and buy extra little things with this money. However, the opportunity cost here is that one, I would be in a better geographical place. Two, my daughter will be more well developed for the future education and career pathway that we've established for her. And three, I want her to go to this school, right? So the opportunity cost there was, yeah, I did not have instant gratification because I could have stayed where I was. Um, but the long-term payoff was it paid out tremendously. So much so, my daughter went to college and she graduated in the 4 years. She never changed majors. She was very clear about her career and education goals. She was ready. She got a full scholarship. Like she's a high achiever. And it's all because of the opportunity cost that I identified in that moment. So I shared that example, and I didn't share that in the podcast episode, but I shared that as an example of I want you to start evaluating opportunity costs, especially if you are in a place in your life where you know you are stuck in survival mode. Because when you are in survival mode, you're only thinking about your immediate needs. You can't think about the future, right? And even in survival mode, you're thinking about your immediate wants. You're thinking about things that you can get in your hand right now. Right. So an example, I'm gonna give two examples of a need and one example of a need, one example of a want. An example of a need is right now, instead of paying, instead of saving $200, I need to take these $200 and go pay my light bill, right? That is your need. However, opportunity cost could be something like, and I'm just making this up, because also, when you're in survival mode and because you're a social worker or a person who people come to for help, your ego is holding you back from a lot of help and assistance. That's just the truth because you don't want nobody to know that you need nobody the way that they need you. Right. So maybe instead of you spending $200 on your light bill, you can go apply for such and such energy assistance program where they're helping pay people's light bills, and you've already looked at the criteria and see that you qualify, but you don't want to do that because maybe like colleagues or people in the social work realm or work, social service work, work at that program. An opportunity cost would be save your $200, go apply for the energy assistance program and either save it or invest your $200, right? That's opportunity cost. That's something that is shifting you and preparing you for bigger. If you invest the $200, you can double your money. That's an example of a need. An example of a want opportunity cost, and I talked about this on the podcast, is maybe you have $200 that's extra, and you're like, I'm gonna go buy me some shoes. Right? And I don't know what I've never been a trendy person like that. I have my own style, but I don't know what the latest hottest shoe brand is. I think I know I said Steve Madden on that podcast episode, whatever the hottest shoe is. Maybe you're a sneakerhead. You're like, I'm going to take my $200 and I'm going to buy me some shoes. I'm going to go to the mall or I'm either going to place my order online, and you spending only $200. Opportunity cost would be, right? Because those types of shoes are clearly the ones. They don't have Payless no more because I used to run through Payless. When I worked in the office, I love those ballet flats. Somebody I knew could not stand me when I wore those, could not stand those shoes when I wore them, but I wore them because they were comfortable and I could move and groove and they got me through the winter and the summer months. And I would run through Payless and get them in all like, I would get them in black because I could wear it with anything, but every now and again I'll get the red ones with the bow on the top and they would be BOGO winning. I could wear them every day. I would get multiple pairs because sometimes it will rain. And once some Payless shoes get wet, it's done. It's a done deal. So I would get multiple pair in different like material, velvet. What was it? Velvet and canvas and whatever. But anyway, you could easily get a pair of shoes like that. But you want these $200 shoes. So an opportunity cost would be looking at, yeah, I got $200 that's extra. I just came up on this money, be it from wherever it's coming from. Opportunity cost is sitting down thinking about forward planning of how could you invest these $200 to really flip your money to get more in the end. And so the example I gave in the podcast episode is for me when I started adopting the opportunity cost association and adapted it to my life. Because yeah, we're talking about business with the term, but my life is a business, right? And it really gave me a different way of looking at things. So for me back at that time, an opportunity cost would be instead of me going to, because my thing was going to Ross. I love a good Ross. I I could go in there and get so many dresses like that. I was a Ross girl, right? So instead of me going making my weekly trip to Ross, because it was a time that was when I was going through a lot in those jobs. I would go to Ross every Thursday. That was just like how no, my pain going there every Thursday because that's when the Ross truck come in and get me a bag of dresses. You don't know I am a dress wearer. Can't nobody beat me in the dress game. It's just proven I've been wearing dresses as a little girl and I always got the baddest dresses on. But anyway, so instead of taking those $200 to Ross and buying those dresses depending because I'm an expert at shopping at Ross. I only get the name brand quality ones, but it took me years to perfect how to shop in Ross. So it was a time where I used to get the real cheapy dresses, but and it was and those dresses don't last past the season. But instead of going into Ross and purchasing the dresses, there was a point where I stopped that and I was like, I'm going to take my $200 and I'm going to invest in something that will make me better for the future. Right. So an example that I shared on the podcast episode was like I invested in Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. I learned about it by watching it on YouTube. I know people could feel what they want to feel about Dave Ramsey. I don't even know the ins and outs of the thing. I'm just talking about for me what I did when I was trying to change my life drastically and get out of survival mode where I had to start thinking about my money different, which is why I really took control of my career, right? Instead of staying stuck in that call center job. But anyway, I I took some of my money and I invested in a financial peace course, which I think it was like $100 or something like that. I don't even think it was a cost because I took it at my church. I think it's just you buy the book, and then even that, it was like a workaround on the book. Anyway, like a discount or something with it because it was with the group. So those are the types of things I was doing in my case management days. I was investing in me. It will look like me investing in in personal development books. Right? I will order them through Amazon. Again, instead of taking my money and going to buy some dresses to get instant gratification, which is what you do when you're in survival mode. You just want something immediate in your hand. Even if it's ordering, you're gonna have it in your hand within 3 days, or depending on if you live in a major city, maybe a day or two. And so I started to shift my way of thinking and really started to assess my decisions around opportunity cost. So that would look like me buying books. I thought about one of the books, one of the very first books that I bought was um, The Alchemist. No, it was like the seven behaviors of leaders or something like that. It was books like that. I remember I bought that book when I was at the domestic violence shelter. So I started to invest in little things, doing things much differently than how I have ever done it, much differently than the people around me. And it was because I was learning about these things from watching YouTube and hearing people talk about different things. And I'm like, what do I have to lose? But opportunity cost, I adopted that term into my life and into my approach around my decision making when I was in business school. And so I wanted to share that because for you, you are every day you're making decisions where you really need to be critically assessing for the hidden opportunity cost in that. And the example that I gave on the podcast episode is like the workshops that I offer. Right. I have a whole how to find macro social work jobs workshop coming up that I'm doing on the 28th. Right. There are two levels to this workshop. There is general admission and there is VIP upgrade. So with the general admission, how that works is you will be able to attend the how to find macro social work jobs workshop where I'm teaching you strategies to find macro social work jobs. I'm teaching you my framework to help you get clarity on what type of macro social work jobs you want, all of that, right? And so that costs $97. Just so you know, people have taken that same workshop last year when I offered it, because I've only offered it twice. This will be my third time. People took that workshop last year, November, and landed macro jobs after years of working in frontline work, where they are now 2 to 3 times they have 2 to 3 times their social work salaries. They're making the most money ever, all off of a $97 investment, right? So that $97, they could have easily went and tricked that off by going out to eat, going to buy some shoes, taking a day trip somewhere, getting a hotel on the beach, but instead they invested the $97 and they're now making the most money they've ever made in their 10 plus year career from a 2 hour workshop that I had for $97. That is a great example of evaluating opportunity cost. They said to themselves, I'm going to forego the instant gratification of me going over here to Papados and getting a $50 plate of seafood that I can eat anytime. And I'm going to invest my $97 into this workshop, and it paid off for them tremendously, right? So with that workshop, I have the VIP upgrade option, which is where you get a VIP intensive, where all of the VIPs, and several people have already purchased the VIP. I've actually had more people purchase the VIP than the general admission as of the time of this recording. But the VIP option is where you get to work directly with me in a small group setting with the other VIPs, and it's me taking my brain and the extensive knowledge that I have around the job market and really looking on a deeper level at what you enjoy in your work, what type to help you figure out what type of macro job you want, what organization type do you want to work in, to help you figure out what do you want your day-to-day work to look like. So you then can take that clarity from the career, because it's a career clarity intensive, you can take that clarity and really optimize the strategies that I will teach you the following day on that Sunday in the How to Find Macro Jobs workshop to find the jobs you want. That way you can find the job get the job and stay in the job and not be bouncing around because it's not really what you want to do. There's a lot of macro social workers out there that did not work with me. They were already macro before I even jumped on the scene who hate their jobs. And it's because they did not establish clarity around what they wanted their career to look like. So an example of an opportunity cost for you would be, instead of me taking this money, I'm going to invest it and get the VIP upgrade so I can get clear once and for all, because I don't want to go get another degree. I already have three. I already have two. I'm going to invest this money and I'm going to go get clarity from an expert, someone who knows the thing, who can help me really uncover what is it that I want to do and what that looks like in a job market. That is evaluating opportunity cost, because it over time will, if you do the strategies that I teach you in the workshop, it will help you find a job that is aligned with what you are interested in. It will help you find a job that is aligned with your skills and ability rather than just your degree. Because right now, you're most likely in a job that is just aligned with the degree of social work. And you have not taken into account your personal interests, your personal skills, your personal needs and wants in employment. So I wanted to share that as an example of opportunity cost, because I know that it's summertime and a lot of people are hot on the road, everybody outside, people out, being great, being grown, do whatever you do as grown folks. But I want you to really start critically assessing the opportunity cost in these opportunities to invest in yourself, because yes, you are in survival mode and you're trying to get instant gratification, but at some point in time in your life, you're going to get tired of doing the same thing at some point in time. And if not, I encourage you to really sit down in a place and figure out why you are comfortable being so uncomfortable. Because if you are not fighting for yourself, that means that you have gotten okay with the hardness. And you should never be that way. You should always be fighting for yourself. You should always be fighting to have more, do more, be more, whatever that looks like for you. You should never be comfortable with struggle. That was the thing for me. Even though I was stuck in survival mode, I never could get comfortable. I never could get comfortable. I never could. That's why when you hear my colleagues talk about me, one particularly, he asked me to come speak at an event he had several months ago. That was how he introduced me to the people. And I never know that people saw me that way. He said one thing, because he called me Pitts, Miss Pitts. He was like, one thing about Miss Pitts was even 10 years ago, she would talk about her plans. She would share with me the things that she was working on and everything she used to tell me in that cubicle she had done. Right? Because I know even when I was, and that was when I was making $37,100 a year. I found some old paycheck stuff the other day and I almost cried looking at how much money I was living off bi-weekly. One check was like $1,100 bi-weekly. How was I living? I wasn't. No wonder my life was hard. But even in that hardness, I never got okay with it. I never just laid down and said, I'm just going to take it. I was always fighting for myself. I still am. So I want to say that for you. You better not ever get comfortable. You better not ever just be like, I'm just going to take it. That's why I'm on the internet every day, some way, shape, form, or fashion, saying you have choices, you have options. There is more for you. Someone told me today they jumped in my inbox and said they got a macro job after working with me, and it was like I followed every piece of advice you gave, and it worked for me. It's like I'm making the most money I've ever made, and I love my job. That made me smile because I'm just telling y'all what worked for me. And so one of the things is you better not give up on yourself. So I wanted to come on and talk about opportunity costs and really implore you to start critically assessing the things that are presented to you instead of being immediately dismissive of, oh no, I can't afford that. Oh no, I can't do that. If you did it, how could it change you tremendously? How could you invest in yourself, change your situation tremendously, rather you paying for this thing that has a sunken cost, right? How many more fast fashion dresses do you need? How long, how many more Temu purchases do you need? How many more Amazon? What insert your thing? How many more things do you need from Target? Do you really need it? Or could you invest this money, this time? Because some of you, it's not even an issue of money, it's your time. You're so busy over giving all of your minutes away to everybody else that you have no time for yourself. What are the opportunity costs in investing time into you? How could your life change drastically if you gave yourself 20 more hours a week rather than giving them away to take care of everybody else and everything else? How could your life change? That's a whole nother conversation I want to bring for another day. I'm out in this public space and y'all got me going off on one. I don't know if when these walls are thin, that's why I'm low key whispering. But how could your life change if you gave yourself 20 more hours a week? I'm sure you can get a whole lot of stuff done that you say you don't have time for. Because if I, well, I almost got on one. Y'all love to say you don't have time for your job search, but if you stop trying to be everything for everybody and be there for everybody else and make sure their stuff is straight, you will have time for your job search. That's another conversation that we'll do in private, not when I'm out in public, but opportunity cost. I want you to start critically evaluating the decisions that are before you to to identify how could this better position you for the future. Because even though you're trying to keep your head afloat right now, you need to be thinking about tomorrow, right? You need to be thinking about tomorrow, especially if the goal is to one day stop drowning, to one day buy a home, to one day buy a car, to one day relocate, to one day stop being on call every week, to one day stop having to work multiple jobs, to one day stop being in a service industry position because you're getting older and you want to be behind a desk, to one day be able to work remotely where you can support your child, your family, your dog, your pet, whatever your thing is, insert your thing. You got to start planning for tomorrow. You got to start planting your seeds today for tomorrow. The situation ain't going to change if you are content with where you are right now, if you're only focused on right now. And I want you all, I feel like I need to say this. I am aware that time poverty is a real thing, but what I know to be true about you all that listen to my podcast, that follow my work, you are people pleasers. You give more attention, time, money, resources, energy to everybody else than you give to yourself. It's time to focus on you. If you want to come to the workshop, come to the workshop. The link is down in the bio at macrounpaid.com. If you register before tomorrow, July 19th, you will get my free 100 macro social work job title list. You can start job searching immediately. You don't even have to wait to the workshop. You can start searching for jobs and applying for jobs now to start figuring out what's out there. In the workshop that I had last month for how to find macro social work jobs, people were finding $100,000 plus jobs in the actual workshop. These are my people in California where they're in jobs making 40,000, 30,000 a year. Their minds were blown at the fact that they found a job in their city or that was remote, that was paying $100,000 plus, that did not require a certification, a license, leadership experience. It didn't require them to network. It didn't, they could do it remote from the comfort of their home. Come learn the strategy so I can teach you how to find these jobs so you too can move from survival to thriving. It's possible, but you're going to have to fight against this that wants to keep you in the same safe, familial cycle that you're in of survival because it's predictable. You know how to deal, you know how to, you You know I was going to share some strategy. You know how to float a check between pay periods. You know how to navigate your demanding supervisor. You know how to move your clients around so you have some days where you can have admin work where you can make it all kind of manageable. You feel the pain, but you know how to manage the pain. It's time to move out of that, even if it's manageable for you, because deep down, you don't want to do it. You don't like it. You feel the uncomfortableness. You may have buried it. You may not feel it as much as you used to feel it in the beginning, but it's still there. You still dream. You still have desires to have more, to be more, to do more. Evaluate opportunity costs. I want you all to start carrying that in your front pocket. Use it as a tool because it helped me tremendously. And I've been doing it over 10 years now. And that is one of the first ways to start moving out of survival mode. All right. Let me add this, especially if you are surrounded by other people who are in survival mode, because they won't understand you investing. They won't understand you investing money or time. It ain't for them. So when you start doing it, do it in silence. That ain't none of their business. That's just for you. And I'm telling you, it works because it shifts your mind. It shifts your mind. It also gives your money somewhere to go that will benefit you tenfold. The stuff that I read in those books 10, 12, 15 years ago, I'm using it today. I've used it years prior to today. All right. Oh, and then also the example that I gave in the podcast episode was like the only opportunity cost that you have taken on at this point is your degree. And that's because you had tangible evidence, examples of other people who have taken on this opportunity cost of getting student loan debt, investing time in their 4 or 5 plus year degree. They come out and they have better jobs. They come out and they're making more money. They come out and their life has changed tremendously. So it was easy for you to take on that one because you had it evidence, tangible evidence to attach the outcome. But I just want to let you know that when you are really truly moving into the place of evaluating opportunity costs, it does not always have a tangible outcome to it. It does not, sometimes you just got to move in the blind and trust that you are making a sound decision based on how your life is set up. Because you may be one of the people that invested in a degree, but you aren't making more money than what you were making before the degree. And now you have amassed this huge amount of debt. So that opportunity cost, yeah, it worked for other people, but did it really work out for you? So with opportunity cost, when you really are moving in accordance to what you need, it's based off of your life and not the outcomes of others. And you have to be okay with moving through it, knowing that I may not know the tangible outcome of this. I may just have a feeling. I may just be hypothesizing about the thing, but I'm gonna at least try. All right. I'm gonna leave it there. Everything you need to come to the workshop is down in the link in the bio at macroandpaid.com. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.